Fat Mike plays, I would say, faster bass lines. I think Matt Freeman overall plays faster for longer. That was the most rancid thing I've heard in the song so far. Now that's a creative liberty. Who wore it better? Let's get it out of the way. Welcome back to Low End University, and welcome to another episode for this month's theme titled Who Wore It Better?, where I take an original song, a popular cover of it, and decide who ultimately, did the song better, and who did it better on bass. Now, today's episode, and a few others coming up, fall into maybe even another category. Punk covers punk, if you will, because I've gotten zillions of requests for NOFX's song, Stickin In My Eye. I'd heard some mentions about a split album they did with Rancid. I never really got the full scoop, but I do now. And today we're also going to hear Rancid's take on their song. I haven't heard either version of the song, of course, so today I feel I can be pretty darn objective about which one I prefer, but for starters, this song originally appeared on NOFX's fourth studio album, White Trash, Two Heaves and a Bean, released in 1991, which is quite the album name and refers to the eclectic ethnicities of the band's members. And while it's clearly some bit of fun inward humor at the time, I'm kind of glad they didn't go with the original album title. It's also the first NOFX album to feature El Jefe on guitar, and this lineup ultimately remained set in stone all the way until the band's recent retirement. But let's dive into it. I feel like with all the NOFX and all the Rancid I've done here on the channel, hearing them cover each other's songs is a fun sort of next step in my fandom of each band and their respective bass players. So without further ado, let's first hear the original Stickin In My Eye from NOFX. Ooh. Nice and chordal. I like the wetness on it. Little chorus, little phaser. It's kind of brooding. That's one thing I'm always going to point out the earlier I go back in NOFX's catalog, which this is right up there, I believe, with the earliest thing I've heard. I checked the dates. I think the track I reviewed, The Death of John Smith, was like the same year as this album, but maybe a few months prior. It looked like they were just really active in this time period, releasing multiple things a year. Nonetheless, my comment is always that their stuff sounded so good for being so early in their career. Normally, bands have this really long runway into, properly produced, crisp, polished production, which I'm always just going to be more of a fan of because I feel like I can hear everything better. So really cool to hear that. And there's so many albums between this and what I've heard later. So I always know NOFX's stuff is going to be great. I like the brooding nature of this intro. Normally, Mike will do a lot of guitar-like parts on bass at just the right range where it takes advantage of the thickness of the bass strings and tones and just really has this epic setup of an intro, but there's a little melody happening on top. I think we're here in E minor. I'm going to go back one more time because this song is 223, and I noticed the Rancid version is like 150. So when I talk about taking creative liberties in this series, it's like, did Rancid speed it up? That would be the first giveaway. I'm excited to hear it. I'm excited to hear what Matt Freeman does on this because he typically doesn't play a lot of chordal stuff. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth there, but I feel his strength is in like the single note fast lines. So anyway, let's go back and hear it again, get my head around it. Yeah, it's got this kind of hear that little melody in there. Down a tritone. So just kind of a four-note melody. And that's a really great way to make any sort of chordal bass part you do. Just still have kind of a line in there, a bass line. Find your chords. Let's see, what are those? Go to the major 5 there, find your chords, outline your chord progression, but see if you can just sneak in a line in there. It kind of reminds me of how I was breaking down the declines part. I can't remember those chords now, but I think it's something like that, but I know there's a melody in there like just a really subtle melody inside the chords. But nonetheless, I find that same thing to be happening here. One more time, we'll let it roll. Okay, there's no major 5 there. Now you hear that melody being taken over by the guitar part. So it kind of keeps it going even though the bass has gone down. Here now. Yeah. So this is a classic Andalusian cadence. You start on the minor 1, go down to the 7 chord, which is diatonically major in a minor scale. Next chord, a whole step down, major chord as well, and then you make the 5 major. So ultimately it has this sound. Major, major, major. That D sharp on the top resolves nicely back to the 1. So feels like that's the theme of the song. Faster. Now it's like double time. But you can hear the kick drum pattern. Smelly's doing back there really outlines what he was doing in the intro. That same. There's one note I'm still missing there, but nah. Stickin in my eye. Gets a little brighter here. Got a G major thrown in now. Kind of a soaring vocal melody, which I really like Fat Mike's voice. I've said it in one of the very first videos I did on the band. A lot of people were like, really? I mean, we love Fat Mike, but to say his voice is really great. Yeah, it really is. I really like it. Great melodies. He knows his range. I'm excited to kind of hear this earlier stuff, maybe when he was younger, to see just how open that vocal range is. It sounds higher than most of the stuff I've heard already. That's pretty high. All right. Major 5 in the chorus, sharing it from the verse part again. 1 half step up, brings it back, nicely back to the 1 there. Okay. Ooh, it's a cool sparse thing here. Woo-hoo. A lot of cool ingredients on this one. I heard the bass fill there, something just back up there. Okay, let's see where that goes, because that honestly, that's kind of like a Matt Freeman line there. You know, if I were to compare the two bass players based on what I've heard, I would say Fat Mike plays, I would say, faster bass lines. I think Matt Freeman overall plays faster for longer. I'm thinking of, you know, my limited scope of both bands, but it's healthy enough now I feel I can make that conclusion. I've heard Fat Mike play in bursts and overall riffs faster, but Freeman comes in and takes the single note stuff and just really can pick it. You know, like Maximum Murder, that's where I started, all the way through things I've heard on Life Won't Wait. Just, you know, he can kind of make a whole bass line, whereas Fat Mike's going to have more of this, that really fast technical picking stuff that they both do. I think their just styles are kind of laid to tape a bit differently. Okay, just caught me off guard. This is kind of a Freeman type of line here. Who influenced who? I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I heard that C sharp in there. So maybe they're changing keys a little bit. Who knows? I like this little biddly-diddly-down, biddly-diddly-down. Ooh. Kind of thrashy. I feel unusual for thinking about the underground cage. God help me, feel beneath the camera, watch the world begin to cry. It's not for pity. Andalusian cadences are just... they're always epic. They always have this tinge of epicness to them. feel like he might be doing some chords back there. The bass isn't punching through quite as much. It's a really big guitar sound, so I'm kind of listening through because I know his tendency is to do some of that double stop stuff, but nonetheless, it makes for a really epic progression. It makes for a playground of great melodies on top of it, which he already has a knack for.
Riding on it.
Cool one. I like this slightly darker. Slightly. Oh, it's not over. We got something else. Little tag here. Well, that was a fun little fake out ending there. That's quite a lot of dead time to put in a song that's only barely 2.5 minutes. So it kind of caught me off guard. I'm glad they brought back the little unison lick. A lot of power in that. Okay, I've made some mental notes of everything that happened, the character of the bass lines, the chord progression. Bands cover songs and really change them up to be almost unrecognizable sometimes. And then bands cover a song note for note, one to one. So I'm always curious to hear what each example in this month's theme is going to be. But let's see what Rancid musically had to say about it, because that's where things get interesting for me as I start researching this. I've recently learned that there are lots of split albums where punk bands co-op on it and cover each other's songs. I mean, bands covering other bands has obviously existed since the dawn of time, sure, and certainly in all the genres I grew up in and everything, but this seems much more like intentional and collaborative, and maybe unique to this scene where they actually work together and play their own music on the same album. It's a really creative way to package a release, kind of dual market it, but these albums are definitely something I plan to explore further. And today starts with BYO Split Series Volume 3, and the album contains 6 songs by each band, with each band's songs being covers of songs originally performed by the other band. But BYO stands for Better Youth Organization Records, an indie label who seem to house many of these split albums. What's your favorite? What volume is your favorite? How many volumes are there? I didn't even look. But again, the goal of this series is to get a feel for how each band takes creative liberties, especially the bass player, who in this case is one of the best to ever do it, Mr. Matt Freeman, whose style is nothing like I've ever heard, especially after trying to learn some of his bass parts. Let's check it out. Rancid's version of Stickin In My Eye. Pretty similar on the intro. Now that's a creative liberty. Okay. This kind of feels faster. Same key. Okay, there's some things they really kept one to one. I always feel like when a band keeps it in the same key, it naturally has more of that feel. Maybe most people don't really notice that type of thing, but it actually makes it easier for me to kind of reference back to what I heard. Obviously, he took a little liberty in the intro. I'm going to go back and put that under the microscope real quick, but I feel like Rancid have always had that bigger backup vocal thing. Now, NOFX has backup vocals and harmonies and such, sure, but I'm thinking back to the first time I listened through And Out Come the Wolves. There were so many of those big background choral-like thickening up behind the lead vocal. And I think I read that this was Lars singing. I prefer Fat Mike as a vocalist, but Rancid sound like what I think punk vocals sounded like before I got into punk. So they always hold that spot for like, this is what punk vocals, this is like the benchmark. Like it's a little shouty, it's a little yelly, it's kind of like half pitch, half spoken, but still gravelly in pitch. It's like a really unique character. But I assume when the other members of the band come behind Lars or Tim, either way, they really have a thick thing when it all comes together. songs like Ruby Soho, Time Bomb. Nonetheless, I feel like this is a click or two faster. I'm going to go back and hear the intro because he took the main riff and added a very Matt Freeman-ism, I would call that. Little bluesy line in there. See what's going on here. Takes a few seconds to start. Just some little personality there. I like it. It's a little chromatic, bluesy in nature. Little blues scale, like the top half of that. Not that low. One more time. It's a fun little thing. It's not something I'm going to like spend forever on here. It gets really chromatic there, so it kind of has that... What does that sound like? It sounds like Maxwell Murder. That's something he does in his lines a lot. I think he does it as a way to bridge together certain chord tones. It just makes them more interesting, more colorful, instead of just kind of going down the scale and maybe doubling the notes like... Why not just go... It's chromatic. Chromaticism always works. You can use chromaticism in anything. It always works. It just does. It's like the get out of jail free card for being out of key or wrong notes, but it sounds intentional. It's the intent behind it to offer a certain sound and flavor. I feel like that's what he does in some of his single note lines that sets him apart, makes him so unique. That's one of the things that drew me in initially. However, other than that, he's keeping the line, I think, note for note the same. However, I feel like the bass intro here adds that third on the last chord. And maybe I'm just hearing it more now that we're a couple repeats into it, even with the Rancid version. I feel like Fat Mike didn't make the last chord major. He probably did, because I don't know why he would. I don't know, I'm hearing it more and more. I know there's like a tritone in there. Okay, one more time. And we'll keep it rolling. Because there are some vocal liberties I really liked. It's worth a shot. All right. This is like Matt Freeman tempo here.
But I can't make out the words. Saying things that
This stuff. I don't remember that in the original. A little tag. I don't know if there's more subdivision happening. Using the Fat Mike pick again. It's just, I can't play those faster lines with like a green Dunlop. I just get... I don't feel like I'm going to drop it. Okay, I feel like Matt Freeman's taking a few little bass fill liberties there, you know. Just little fills. I wouldn't even call them fills, just some notes linking it together. I heard him go up and kind of get the... Just something, you know, making it his own. Some Freemanisms. But let me go back and make sure I got that chord progression right. He's doing this kind of stuff. Ooh. No, that was like the original. It's this part. Oh shit. There's a lot of brownie points that come from that. I like this little, this is very Rancid. They put in a lot of subdivision at a fast tempo. Digga, digga, digga. You know, everybody's kind of chugging on that 16th grid, and then Matt Freeman jumps up, and just the energy goes off the charts when he starts doing that at a higher register. You like can't quite tell if it's a bass solo about to happen, but it is a bass solo because it's a bass fill. That was the most Rancid thing I've heard in the song so far. Let me hear this ridiculously cool thing here. Kind of back up where we started. So they get you going, you're feeling that subdivision, there's no vocals, and then he just takes the energy up to 10. I like the character of it because it's not like, you know, it's just not notes everywhere. Like, it kind of plays more like a riff that he's just putting up an octave, you know. Kind of rides there for a minute. So it's like, okay, it's like the riff up an octave. And then the fill is the little higher stuff, like that little thing he threw in maybe for one beat there. Cool. That. One more time. This brings a lot of energy. Nice. Okay, they ride on it too. I feel like I'm going to have a field day hearing these BYO Split albums because each band has the advantage that I talked about in the very last episode where we took Aha's Take On Me against Real Big Fish's Take On Me. Well, you don't write a song as a band and think, okay, we've written the song, it's good, we like it, but what creative liberty might a band take 20 years from now? And let's do that to just beat them to it. No, you just write a song organically. And then when it's your turn to cover a band song, you're going to look at the song and go, how can we maybe embellish a song we like? Like, I always wish there was a guitar fill there or a bass fill or like an extended solo. So who wore it better? Let's get it out of the way. I got to give this one to Rancid. And I'm normally not the hugest fan of Rancid's vocals, but I really they grew on me here based on him playing it safe. And I think the texture of his voice lent itself to this song better. This was like a bit of a grittier version, where NOFX has felt a little lighter. The guitars were maybe a little lighter, just as fast and energetic, but this kind of had this grumbly heaviness to it. And I think with Lars singing, if I got that right, I can't tell the two apart very well. I'm not good at that with any of the punk bands, really. I just got done doing Hot Water Music on Patreon. It's like Chris Wallard, Chuck Reagan. I could barely tell them apart. Nonetheless, I think those vocals worked with the heaviness that Rancid added. And then Matt Freeman really did a respectful job of giving you the original bass line that maybe you came to hear. But again, injecting that fast 16th, I'm just going to kind of call it rockabilly style, where he's picking fast and filling in the notes, and it just has this really percussive character to it. I got to give it to Rancid. But they did a really fun version of it. I really feel like it was a bit faster. And I've also kind of noticed, despite the era of each band, NOFX and Rancid, I feel like NOFX have this tighter, punchier drum style production, I would say. Maybe not the style of the drummer necessarily, but the drums chosen to be recorded. They have this sort of maybe higher tuned, punchy immediacy, where Rancid maybe have more of that Bonham thing going on, where it's a little roomier and livelier. It's a certain style for the cymbals maybe. So those things all matter, being at the bottom of a band's mix and how everything sits on top of it. So I really liked how that just aided in this slightly heavier version. But this is so much fun. Let me know your favorite example of who wore it better. It could be from the BYO Split albums, which, again, I'm reading. There's just tons of bands I recognize having participated in that. But this theme is going to be one I bring back because it's really fun for me to get in the heads of each bass player and each band, each guitarist, each vocalist, and see how they take a song and do it differently. But thank you guys again for hanging out with me today. We will hear one of these on Patreon, and if you haven't joined yet, now's a great time. It's $3 a month, and you get access to all the full albums I've done since day one. And it's the best way to support the channel if you enjoy what I do. Come find us over there at patreon.com/LowenUniversity. There's higher tiers with bass lessons, music theory lessons, and just an amazing community. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video. I love you all. We'll see you in the next one.